This is the Lip and Putts podcast here in the Better Rate Mortgage studio. On to episode 10 and Sahith Theegala fucks.
That's how we're going to start it.
He's
the headliner for the Lip and Putts podcast, baby.
Yeah, he's a friend of the program. He's seen some of our stuff out there, and hopefully future guest of the show too. So obviously we had a great week at the Rocket Mortgage Classic this week. I was there for 5 days. Obviously only 4 were part of the tournament, so I was there on the Pro-Am day. So we'll talk a ton about that. LIV Golf took place this weekend as well. Lots of stories that came out of that one. More Ryder Cup news, obviously with Stenson being out.
Yeah.
And then the PGA Tour schedule got released.
Yeah, and we're rounding into the end of the regular season for both the Korn Ferry and the PGA Tour, so getting time for the FedEx Cup playoffs, the Korn Ferry finals. So definitely one week left basically in the regular season for both of them, too, I think, actually, for the Korn Ferry. But some exciting stuff. But either way, we buried the headline. Back-to-back winner, Tony Finau.
Yeah.
I mean, I think both weeks I've said he is not going to win.
Yeah.
So I'm a genius. But Tony Finau runs away with it. Obviously, one of the big favorites coming into this week with Patrick Cantlay and Max Homa. I think those are the top 3.
Yeah.
But 26 under sets the new course scoring record. Said he loved the fans here in Detroit. Of course, all players say that. But what's your initial takeaway? You were out there all 4 days. I was able to get out there Friday. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was one. It's obviously it's a great event. I've been to plenty of golf tournaments before. Obviously, I've been to the Rocket Mortgage in the past, but I've never been to a tournament where I was on the ground for all 4 days of the event. So that was a unique perspective that never got to experience before. It's a little bit different because you can't get a vibe on the tournament as if you were watching it on TV. So it's obviously you can't sit there and feel where the momentum swings are coming from. You don't know where some of the storylines are at. You can kind of only just see what's out in front of you. So if you're only watching a certain group or a certain guy, and obviously I followed Sahith a lot, and we do have to correct ours. We said Sahith.
Yeah, we learned.
It's actually Sahith. Yeah. So for everybody out there, because there was tons of people that were calling him Sahith.
And I straight mushed him.
Yeah, well, I mean, rightfully so.
I got out there. He was literally in first place and 9 under. And the moment I got out there, he made a bogey. He ended up going 2 over the rest of the week. So, it's my fault.
Yeah, and we saw a gnarly lip out, too. On,
yeah,
what was it? I believe that was
Might
on
have to post
6.
that video. I got the video.
Yeah, so.
But either way, Tony Finau, he's now won 4 times on the PGA Tour, 2 in the last 2 weeks. He's always, for his entire career, had the can't close the door kind of guy. He's never been able to get the wins. Even last week, he hit one in the water on the final hole with a chance to win. This week, he had a few bogeys down the stretch, but that's just going to happen. There was no concern. Granted, he had a big lead basically coming down, but just a really strong round of golf. And I know you were out there yesterday, so I don't know how much you were able to follow around Tony. I was able to watch a lot of the back nine on TV and everything, but these aren't huge events. I mean, it's the 3M Open, which is one of the weakest fields they've had on the PGA Tour, and then obviously the Rocket Mortgage, which is the strongest field they've had at the Rocket Mortgage, but still not an insanely strong field and event. But still, you got to crawl before you can walk, and he's beginning to do this. And I guess, do you think it's something that will continue to lead to more opportunities for him to win? Obviously, I think it'll lead to more opportunities, but will it lead to more wins?
Yeah, he said something perfect in his in his post-round interview, and he said he wasn't happy with how he finished out the 3M Open. Even though he won by 3 shots, he still wasn't happy coming down the stretch and making that bogey and having a little bit of shaky golf because, like we've said, that's what he's been known for. And so he wasn't happy about that. And obviously this week on 17, on Sunday, he hits I don't remember what club it was, but got in the green in 2 on that par 5 and 2-putt birdie to just further increase his lead. And for a guy like that to finish strong, that's kind of the last thing he has to learn about winning. And I think we're kind of watching that unfold before our eyes. So I love Tony Finau. How could you? I don't know how anybody out there could hate him. His post-round press conferences and some of his biggest defeats, or even in his wins now, are they're kind of must see. So, I mean, when he said, who are you trying to inspire? When Amanda Renner asked him that question, he said, I'm trying to inspire the younger generation. And mind you, this was a guy that just won last week too, and he still got emotional, talking about his family who was just with them a week ago in Minnesota. So you can tell he just loves the game of golf, and he loves winning. And the fact that he's actually figuring that out now, I think it's just really, really good for the game of golf, and obviously the PGA Tour.
Yeah, and I think it's you have to, like, you build up scar tissue, and we'll talk about some of the guys who are you're always learning how to win, and you're taking different things that you can learn from him. I mean, we talk about like how Will Zalatoris hasn't been able to get it done, but he's gotten all this learning moments, and all these different guys have to go through those things. Finau obviously had gone through a lot of that. Now it was on the 11th hole. He at this point, I believe, had a 3-shot lead. And he hit it on the green, but like back left corner. It was a par 3, and the pin was front right. Ends up 3-putting, and Taylor Pendreth actually had a pretty makeable birdie putt. It would have cut it to 1. He missed it. Taylor Pendreth struggled, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But that was at the point where it's okay. Now it's a 2-shot lead. Patrick Cantlay's coming, and I was like, okay, like this next hole, or you had 12 and 13, then you have the 14th par 5, but like 12 and 13, these are going to be big points for Tony Finau to see. Can he get it done? And dude just makes a birdie on the next hole.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, yeah, no, never mind. That concern, like, for maybe a 7-minute span of like, okay, we might have a final round collapse or tournament coming down. Like, nope, he quickly pushed away the doubters. And it's not like the putt was not an easy 2-putt. I think they said that long putt, like 50% of, or excuse me, 25% of the time, guys are 3-putting that on tour. And so, like, look, anyone's going to do it. But in my mind, I was like, you all of a sudden start having this creep in your mind, and things can start going sideways, but they clearly didn't. So he was able to get it done. And yeah, I mean, you gotta like love seeing him win. I mean, it's hard to not root for the guy.
Yeah, it's funny too. You bring up that bogey because that was his only bogey all week.
Yeah,
in 72,
I think he had one more hole coming down where he made a bogey too.
No, that was his only bogey. He only made one bogey the entire week.
Well, then that's quite impressive. I'm looking. Yeah, you're right. No, yeah, that was his only bogey. It was 11, and it was a 3-putt. I mean, I think he had hit all but 4 greens going into Sunday. Like, he had hit 50 of 54 greens. Like, and that's a golf course where there's a lot of places you can hit it offline off the tee and still hit on the green. Like, no, you have to be in the fairway a lot of times to hit the greens, and so that's just like a big credit to his ball striking, but also he putted the lights out. Like, it was just an all-around really good performance.
Yeah. How did you feel about, the finishing score, finishing? Obviously, this is another event where the scoring is really low, and obviously,
I'm sure people are complaining.
Yeah,
our hometown event, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and people are, they make the excuses like, oh, it's not really that challenging, yada yada yada. But I guarantee you that's why people always make that joke that, throw a scratch golfer out there from your local club or local golf course and see what they shoot, because I guarantee you they're not breaking 80.
No, they're not. And what I would say with this is, I don't care about, now if every week was like this, it would be a bummer.
Correct.
But there's variability, and the golf course one was firm and fast. I actually think it played a lot well, and it was a lot of fun to watch. It wasn't like just hit it, let it sit. Like, no, it was firm and fast, and so crediting guys with good scores. And you could see when they played in the morning, guys were able to take it a little deeper. But my comment on the low score issue, and if people have an issue with that here in the state of Michigan and Detroit, like being like, it's bullshit, like why don't they go to harder clubs? Like, one, they wanted in the Detroit city limits, which basically sticks you there.
Yep.
And if they really want to, they can make it a par 70. Par is it's irrelevant, as we talk about it. It's completely irrelevant from a standpoint of like, you're playing against everyone else in the field, whether it's a par 70, a par 68, par 72, it doesn't matter. If you really wanted to, you could make 2 of those par 5s, because guys were hitting like 6-iron into some of them. Make them par 4s, and then all of a sudden, instead of him being 26 under, that's if you take 2 par 5s, make him 2 par 4s, he finishes at 18 under. So like, I just don't think it like matters that much. It's more of a like we critique like the entire like setup of the PGA Tour and everything, but no, I have no problem with him being 26 under. I mean, he beat the next guy by 5 shots.
Yeah,
that's really good playing.
Yeah, that's called dominating.
Yeah.
But to that point, too, is they have par 5s out there that we saw that were 630 yards.
Yeah.
And they were still hitting the green in, too. Like, what more could you do?
Exactly. Like 17, I know they were, like, feasting on that hole.
Yeah.
And it's whatever. I mean, if you want to make a 567-yard par 4, go ahead. Like, again, par is pretty much irrelevant. And I think when you're playing in these events where it's usually not as big-name guys, like, seeing some firepower and low scores tends to excite the crowd a little more. We obviously talked about the 3-1-3 challenge, and that was a part of like birdies, eagles, like those things help too. So I don't know. I think it's people want to complain type thing. But
yeah, if you started scoring golf like how they put the total score in, as if they don't do the 3 under or 6 under. They don't do the leaderboard. If you just do it like 67, where you're adding up the score, this isn't even a conversation.
Yeah,
people won't even think about the relative to par score.
Yeah. So either way, that's kind of on that. But Tony Finau, big win. I mean, he's now in his so he kind of was having a tough year, not a tough year, but just by his standards, he really wasn't competing in anything. In the last 10 events, he has basically 2 wins and 5 top 5 finishes. Now, granted, that goes all the way back to the Mexico Open, which is starting the Masters, but he did not have a good spring, and he's now been trending. And he's now clipped off also 3 wins in less than a year because he won one of the playoff events last year. His only other win was the Puerto Rico Open in 2016, which him and I think Victor Hovland were the only. Actually, Victor Hovland still doesn't have a second win, but he was the only player to actually win the Puerto Rico Open and win some other event other than the Puerto Rico Open, which is funny on the PGA Tour. But the runner-ups also, I mean, we've got to talk. Taylor Pendreth, he shot 72 in the final round. He was tied with Tony going into it. That guy, I mean, I didn't even know about him until when we were out there. You were telling me he had a broken rib, and in the last 3 events, he's got 3 straight top 13 finishes. Yeah. Second event where he's tied for the lead going into the final round. But you're just building up scar tissue. You're learning, and you could tell watching him. Again, I don't know how much you saw. A lot of putts he was hitting were ending up 12 inches short. So there's an aspect of tentativeness of I'm afraid to hit it past. There's lack of aggression. And at a golf course where low scores are going to be, you cannot play tentative.
Right, yeah.
If it's US Open, different story. I still never recommend playing tentative, but you can't, maybe defensive is a better word, but there clearly was some issues that he was dealing with, and it's just, you got to learn how to be in that situation.
Yeah, and we were kind of sitting in the media tent too at the Rocket Mortgage Classic, and you heard people like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? And then I did because I didn't really know who he was. So I did my research on him. And then I heard the stories. He broke his rib at the Players Championship. And I think he still finished in the top 20 at the Players. Took 3 months off and then came right back and continues to be on a good tier. So, and sometimes in those instances, you see guys that struggle and then you don't really ever hear from him again. Kind of almost like a Wesley Bryan who had wrist surgery. And he had a decent week actually at the Rocket Mortgage, but he struggled to kind of get back to where he was before his injury. So shout out to Pendreth for, just continue to be strong. And but aside from him, the leaderboard was actually pretty strong. I would imagine the tournament directors and the Rocket Mortgage and everyone in Detroit, I know I was happy about it. There was a lot of good names at the top of that leaderboard.
Yeah, well, and to talk, Taylor Pendreth tied for second with 2 other players. Patrick Cantlay, ever heard of him? 4th player the ranked player in the world. And then Cam Young, who I think that's his 6th or 7th top 3 finish without a win this year. One, just awesome. I mean, he's obviously a stud. But, yeah, you're right. Cantlay, Cam Young, not that they're, the 2 most exciting people when it comes to, talking with people and interacting with the crowd. Really good players and great to watch. And so when the cream rises at the top, basically, we enjoy seeing that.
Yeah, I know we've had the discussion about Cantlay before, but there's just something about watching him play golf that I just really, really enjoy. And even he was in the media tent on Wednesday, and sometimes he can be a bit more charismatic. You would say. I'd say Cam Young is definitely way more dud than he is. But I think that's also with him being a PGA Tour rookie. He's just not out of that shell yet. Which give it time. It's only a matter of time. Before I think we see a little bit more personality out of him. But, if you just like the game of golf and love the game of golf, you're going to really enjoy watching those 2 guys play.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then just to go down some of the other big names, about Zalatoris, T20, I think he made the cut on the number.
Yeah, and then he backdoored, I think, the top 20. I think he shot 7 under on Sunday, too.
And then Max Homa, T24. Really none of the big names missed the cut, which is typically good. You like to see. But, yeah, all in all, it's a good week. And Dirty McGurdy coming in last place, but making some money. We've ripped on him a little bit. 75th place finish.
Yeah.
Either way, fun event. Webb Simpson struggled. He was at one point climbing up the leaderboard on Friday and then just fell apart.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that did that too.
But that's what's crazy. In these events, that you got to go. You got to get after it. It's not as similar at the Wyndham, but it's close. You're not going to go as low. But if you're shooting 3 or 4 under, you're losing shots to the field at these rounds, and you just got to know that going in. So, either way, I think like what we wanted to talk about was our experience, and it was my first time at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. I obviously only went one day. You were there basically all week. It was your first time as well, correct?
Yeah. Or no, it's my second time. I was there. I was there last year as well too on
Got
Sunday.
it. Not the Bryson year, which we failed to mention.
Yeah, well, so quick mention. No one called us out on it on our last episode, but we did say this was the fourth year of the Rocket Mortgage. Fun fact, it's actually the fifth.
No, it was. We said it was the third.
It was the third. Excuse me. Yeah. So again, stupid brain on our part, but we forgot Bryson DeChambeau in 2020.
You just null and void because he's a LIV guy now.
Yeah.
And the PGA Tour's in our pocket after giving us media passes, so we're going to only push PGA Tour initiatives now.
Right. Well, I was looking at that's how Sam was looking at it. I was looking at it as 2020 was a COVID year, so much like the LA Lakers championship in the bubble, that his win at Rocket Mortgage didn't count either. So
for the record, I'm just kidding. We're on both sides.
Yeah.
We just like to talk about it. But yeah, so take me through. I mean, you were able to experience kind of inside the ropes during the program and interact with some of the players, and then obviously walked around a lot throughout the week. So
yeah, I guess Wednesday was obviously my favorite day of the week. So that's when you can get a lot more access to everything there. You don't have fans there because people don't care about the program unless you're playing in it. So I saw a decent amount of people out there Wednesday, but the cool part of this whole thing was I ran into a buddy that was caddying in the group with our boy Sahith.
Yeah,
as
everyone, 2 days after I ran into him at the Tigers game.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess that was a good spot to lead off. So Sam saw him at the Tigers game on Monday, went up to him, got a picture. We posted it on our Instagram with a swipe feature with our famous video that Sahith fucks, which he does. And then some guy named Royo Coots, I think was the name that commented on it, and said, "This is the most accurate thing I've heard on Instagram all day." Just like the comment, didn't think much of it. And then we get to Wednesday. I ended up walking with my buddy who's in the group with Sahith. And I kind of squeezed my way into their group a little bit to hang out. And, Sahith walks right over. I introduce myself. We get to talking, and I bring up the situation with you at the Tigers. I said, "Did some ass clown come up to you at the Tigers game on Monday?"
Some fanboy.
And then he started laughing. He goes, yeah. He goes, "Sam." I go, "Yeah." He goes, and I started talking about our podcast and what we do. And he goes, "Yeah, Lip and Putts." I was like kind of thrown off guard. I was like, I don't think Sam brought up the fact that that was the name of our podcast, but he remembered it. And I was like, "Oh, how'd you already know?" He goes, "Oh, I saw the clip that you guys put out on Monday saying that I fuck." I was like, "No way." I was like, "What a small world." Well, come to find out, that guy that commented on the Instagram, Royo Coots, I believe is his name. I could be
one of his buddies, basically. Yeah,
pretty much. Played college golf with him at Pepperdine. Saw the video, it popped up in his recommended, and then sent it over to him. So he saw it, and then him and I were, and his caddy Carl, shout out to Carl, our boy, shot the shit with them for the next 7-8 holes while they were playing the program, and really just two cool guys. You can tell super happy to be out there full time for the first year on tour. And I asked him the question too. I go, first time here? He goes, "No, he actually played the U.S. Amateur at Oakland Hills back in 2016. So he loves coming to the Detroit area. He loved being out there for the Rocket Mortgage Classic, and they were extremely nice to me. And they were also in a group with Detroit Lions running back Barry Sanders.
Yes,
so
ever heard of him?
Ever heard of him? So not a bad group at all. So that really kicked off the week, and I knew from there we did network pretty good. So hopefully, we're hoping our boy Sahith wants to come on this podcast.
Yeah, the season maybe ends.
Yeah, well, and we're getting to the FedEx Cup playoffs, so we're gonna reach back out to him after that, and obviously want to get him on because we're both big fans of his, and have enjoyed watching him kind of come up through the ranks. But that kicked off a great week for us. And then you get to go out and walk the course, and Detroit Golf Club was in great shape. I don't think I heard one complaint about anything going on out there. And it's cool because I think a lot of these courses that they go to now are newer, updated courses that don't have a lot of trees anymore. And this is one of the courses that is actually tree lined. Obviously, an old Donald Ross course. You can tell it's an older country club, and it sets up to be a little bit different, and not so much that it's harder, but it requires a lot more different shots. You see, like the Siwoo Kim shot with the driver off the deck a few years ago, going in between the trees, and watching guys that have to hit these low punch kind of stingers underneath the trees to get back in the fairways. It makes for fun golf to watch.
Yeah, and it's a good golf course with, there's not a lot of bunkers protecting the fronts of greens. There's obviously the water hazard on 14, But there's a lot of opportunity to, when you do get a little offline, you can hit some of these creative shots to get it up. And so you're right. It's sometimes hard to see that all on TV. And I've never really been a person who's been really interested in going to the tournament. I know we heard what the prices were, and we can get to that part in a second and what we think could make it better. But just going out there and being able to walk around and see a lot of these different shots that these guys are hitting and working the golf ball different ways. I mean, it's really fun to watch. And it just makes it shows off how really fucking good these guys are.
Right. And I think a unique part about it too is we see on TV that, CBS, NBC, Golf Channel, that you only see the good shots.
Mm-hmm.
Like these guys actually hit a decent amount of bad shots, and they'd admit to that. So it goes to show you how good their recovery is on some of these shots. And obviously you get to see a little bit more of the players that are finishing lower on the leaderboard too when you're out there, because they don't ever show those guys on TV at all.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, it's sometimes fun to watch a guy hovering around the cut line and see what they got to do to make the cut or stuff like that. So, but either way, yeah, you're right. I mean, when you're watching on TV, they only show the good players. They show the guys in the lead who are in good form and everything. And so we're almost accustomed to like expecting these guys to hit such great shots every time. And when they don't, we're so surprised. And it's like, no, this happens a lot. A guy missing 6-footers happens a lot. Yeah. They might just not show it on Thursday, Friday.
Well, and there's a few times too, I watch guys tee off or hit an iron shot. I was like, what the hell was that? And obviously I still know they're professionals and the best players in the world, but it's like, wow, like, okay, maybe they don't hit it the best. And
they're like you and I. I mean, not, but 100 times better.
But I think a unique story that Sahith kind of told me the other day is, he said he only hits no more than 500 golf balls a week. I was like, that seems crazy low. And he knows it is. He had wrist surgery like 3 years ago that kind of shredded some ligaments and tendons in his left wrist. And he just can't hit a lot of balls anymore. So he said he just started grinding on a short game. And once he started doing that, he actually became a better ball striker.
Mm-hmm. Takes less pressure off.
Little tip for everybody out there coming from one of the best in the world. Maybe you just got to grind on that short game to get the game in shape. I'm not going to say you're going to be a PGA Tour star from there, but short game sells.
Yeah. So either way, a fun week. I mean, I guess what we wanted to do was talk about the pricing for the tickets seemed expensive. I have some complaints just regarding to I think they could make it. It's not even complaints because I'm making it seem like I was mad about it. And I think it's just, hey, this is things you could do a lot better. And I do think the ticket prices are outrageous. If we heard it was $100 a ticket, which obviously we were able to get in through media passes, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But if you're paying $100 to go watch these guys, and then you're paying more to drink a beer or do something, that's just absurd.
Yeah.
And when you're having this event once a year in the city of Detroit and you're trying to highlight it, you want a lot more fans to come out. And so going to the U.S. Open for just a day pass is usually around $100. Yeah. That's a fucking U.S. Open. That's a major championship. Why? And I don't know who dictates the price. If it's PGA Tour, if it's Rocket, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But just $100 seems like a hell of a lot of money. And then paying $20 or $15 for drinks, you're not trying to make this a really expensive day. And I get it's the PGA Tour. We got to pay for what's worth here. But to some degree, I think having more fans there creates a lot more of a fun atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, a lot of the seating and everything, the grandstands, for the most part, it seemed like a lot of them were heavy corporate outings, suite sponsorship, stuff like that, where there should, and I think there was a few areas, but if you didn't get there early, it was tough to get in.
Right.
You got it, especially around Area 313, that's the cool area we're trying to create in Detroit is the fun, really tight-knit 3-hole area where you have the 14th green, then the 15th hole, and then the tee box for 16 is kind of in between the two. And you could build up a lot more around there or just create more atmosphere. But if you're just selling all these to really expensive tickets, half the time those people aren't showing up because they're networking or they're walking the other golf course and no one else can get in. It depletes from it a little bit. And that's why I would say add more and make it more accessible to a common ticket.
Yeah, to your point, especially in that 313 area, I mean, obviously the 16th at Waste Management is a spectacle in golf. It's a full stadium. You have tons of seats. They have a lot of corporate seating there too, but half the seats are just normal public seating, like bleacher seats that you can get up to. And I think they can do that at the Rocket Mortgage a little bit better, is if they just had bigger grandstands where you have that corporate seating kind of up behind it. Almost like going to a Red Wings game or a Pistons game where you have your suites in between. And I do feel like, because there was a good crowd out there on Saturday and Sunday. Like, I was impressed with the amount of people that were out there, but especially on like 18 is hard to kind of get a good view of what's going on unless you're up on that right side of the green, because it's kind of surrounded. I was like, well, put some seating underneath or do something to allow you get more eyes on it, because I was actually standing back in the middle of 10's fairway just to try to see the top of Tony Finau's head when he made the putt.
Yeah,
So,
and so that's just where, like, and maybe they don't want, I don't know. I know watching on TV, it did not look like there was a lot of fans out there, and then throughout the days it got more. But just, again, a lot of the grandstands you see, and you're like, that's not full. Like, and if you're relating it to a major, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But like, you just let's be honest, it's the Rocket Mortgage Classic, not the U.S. Open. But yeah, again, I think you've got to make it more accessible for the common fan. And look, I've never run a PGA Tour event. To all the people who are going to bitch at me, you've never even volunteered. How do you not know? I'm not, like, yeah, I guess I am criticizing them, but I'm just trying to offer a solution as to what I think would make it more fun. And I think the more the fans come and there's more of an atmosphere, the more you might draw some more players to it. So I'm just trying to suggest options.
Well, I want to kind of see it too as, what I think it was I want to say it was the 14th or 15th at Warwick Hills, the par 3. That was kind of the rowdy hole back before, 16 at Waste Management became what it is today. I'd almost like to see 15 at the Rocket Mortgage, almost like an ode to, the Buick Open days way back when. I think that'd be very cool to see. So that's only just from a party fan experience, because I think you'll get more common people in there enjoying the game of golf, especially with the boom that we're seeing nowadays. I will say one of the cool stories is I walked in there on Sunday. I got there in the afternoon as the leaders were teeing off, and I look over and I see this crowd of guys kind of grouped around. And I was like, who is that? And I looked. Guy had like a t-shirt on backwards, like old Seattle Mariners hat, and just some golf shorts. And I was like, who is? And I looked. I was like, oh shit, Joel Damon just hanging out on the weekend. Missed the cut, but still came to the Rocket Mortgage, I think both Saturday and Sunday, just to hang out and be among the fans. So that was one of the cool parts about being out there too, is that, there's a lot of casual fans, you would say, but Sahith walked in between people and they didn't know who he was. Like JJ Spawn was out there. Zach Johnson I walked right by Zach Johnson a couple times. Like Max Homa and Will Zalatoris were obviously the names that people and face that people knew. But for some of these guys that are, have been on tour for a long time, that like, even like a Denny McCarthy, like if you don't watch golf religiously, you'd have no idea who any of these guys are.
Yeah. And that's kind of fun. And that's why I go into these events, or what we talk about, if you go to a Corn Ferry or some of those, like, it's fun to go see some of these up and coming guys.
Yeah.
So either way, that was our kind of thoughts on Rocket Mortgage. Fun week in the city of Detroit. On TV, they really made it look good, which is cool. And it's just great. I mean, I think people who are not from this, Michigan, Detroit, they think it's still like a shithole, and they're just wrong.
Yeah.
And
that's what all the players talk about. I even talked about with Thigala's caddy, Carl. He said, he was staying over in Troy. He's like, there's so many cool spots around here that you can go to and hang out in. And, a bunch of guys were in downtown Detroit enjoying some of the nightlife and dining down there. So it was, I think a lot of people kind of get blown away when they come to Detroit, and some people say it's one of their favorite spots to come to. And, quick thing about Finau, did you see him when he got back to his hometown late last night? He ended up Dougieing with the Rocket Mortgage trophy in his hand.
Was that from last? Okay, because I saw a video of him Dougieing, but I didn't know what. Okay,
so there was one that.
Okay, that's what I saw before.
Yeah, the PGA Tour uploaded one from a photo shoot,
and then he actually dug.
And then he did it again when he got back to his hometown on Sunday night, which I thought, because he had the Rocket Mortgage trophy in his hand. So
he's trying to work on that pit, baby.
Yeah, I was like, someone commented, said, just be careful of those ankles, Tony.
Yeah, you're right, exactly.
But all in all, great weekend in Detroit. Shout out to everybody that puts on that show there. From I'm good buddies with Chris, who was the one of the green superintendents out there. He did a great job. He worked at Walnut before, so I know those guys put in a lot of work. And everyone from the volunteers to tournament director. Yeah. It is I think a very well ran event that I think is only gonna get better and better.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
And it did just come out. I know we're gonna get into the schedule in a minute, but Rocket Mortgage is back on kind of the 4th of July weekend. end of June through July 2nd. So I think we'll see a decrease in fans again next year, just because it's on that 4th of July weekend. But for me, last year when it fell on that weekend, I enjoyed it because you could get around and see a lot of the players.
Yeah, and the good news with it is it's not after the major. It's got the Travelers right after the U.S. Open, which the Travelers does get a good field, so this might be weaker. But then the following week's the John Deere Classic, then the Scottish Open. So there is a week between the Rocket Mortgage and the Scottish Open to maybe attract players, but we'll see. Either way,
and guys vying hopefully maybe for last minute.
But the last minute
bid into the Open.
Exactly. So we'll see on that. But I guess it's time to talk about LIV Golf, baby.
Yeah.
Trump Bedminster, a captain, or at least someone who plays like a captain, comes away with a victory. Henrik Stenson, after being stripped of his captaincy and leaving the PGA Tour and European Tour to go play in LIV Golf, wins the third LIV Golf event at Bedminster by 2 shots over Matt Wolff and DJ. And then he was quoted afterwards saying that was a captain-like performance. Yeah, really twist the knife.
Yeah, he should have said, but then he was like, well, I think he said something along the lines like, oh, well, I'm not really like the captain of this team. And I get what he was doing, but he kind of I feel like he kind of fucked the joke a little bit. But
either way,
it was
got to steer into that. If you're gonna call him out, man, come on, we want drama.
Yeah, no, and that's why I was like, what a great way to just kind of stir the pot for everybody involved. Unfortunately, I was actually excited to watch this event, and I didn't get to watch it, obviously, because I was at the Rocket Mortgage all 5 days. So
tough week for us.
I think that's a fair excuse to, not watch much of this. I did, however, on Thursday.
Watch the Pro-Am or some of the Pro-Am.
No, on Friday evening when I got back, I watched the replay of the first round. So I did at least watch the first round of that and watch some of the golf. Obviously, they're getting bigger and bigger names, so it becomes a bit more appealing. From that standpoint, but it seemed like to me a lot of the drama was coming off of the course again with the LIV event, just from the Pro-Am, Donald Trump, and granted whatever your politics are.
There was a lot of amateurs, like high profile AMs who played in the event.
Yeah,
there was some artists who performed.
Nelly.
It just and the Chainsmokers were supposed to. They actually got sick, so they weren't able to. But they said they're going to perform it in a LIV Golf event in the future. Whether or not they bailed because of different reasons.
Yes.
But either way, I'm with you. From what it looked like, it seemed like it was very successful. Now they're going to push out their own agenda and everything, and I'm not saying it was bad. So before anyone comes yelling at us that we're not anti, and I think I'd have fun. Again, the problem was the team event was off by 8 shots. It's really not that close coming down the end. But I kind of ride Henrik Stenson. First event after being stripped, coming out and just winning. And I'm sure he was like, let's fucking go. Like, this is what I want to do. It's kind of like a middle finger to people not letting him play.
Yeah, he played with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder,
exactly.
Right? Like, he had added motivation going into this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he started with 64 in round 1, then followed up with 2 69s. One thing I did find funny was for the Pro-Am, they did tee times off 1 in 10, but for the actual event they do shotgun.
Yeah.
Look, I think they need next year, because they announced they're doing it 2023. It's gonna be 14 events. I think they need to get rid of the shotgun. You with this amount of players, you can send them both off 1 in 10 to where they're almost right at the same time. But the whole shotgun thing is fucking stupid.
Yeah, and I know people have yelled at us before. It's like that's right. I would have liked to come home after the Rocket Mortgage or something and flip it on. I enjoy the 8 hours of golf that you get on some days. And I get you won't get that because there's only 48 players in the field. But, there's a chance that you can catch a little bit of it. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I can just sit down in 4 hours and watch it. But I was like,
you can do that when the leaders tee off.
Right, exactly. That's kind of my thought as well, too. So,
and I'm just saying split it. 24 and 24 off 1 in 10.
Yeah.
That is 8 different tee times for threesomes. You can get them out, and there's not going to be any crossover issues with that. Their tee times are going to be, if you put them within 10 minutes, an hour, 20 apart.
Right.
I think it's stupid now. Let's just get back to 1 through 10. I get that was the whole thing they wanted to do. I'd love for them to get rid of it.
Yeah, well, and then you get a little bit more added things too. Like the team event could be pretty close coming down the stretch, where you get guys out there, rooting on, like we've seen in past Ryder Cups and events along those lines. So, Honestly, I am.
I didn't even think about that. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Like, there would be a fun aspect to the team sitting there watching them come in instead of like, oh, I got to finish my 15th hole or the 15th hole today, so I can like. That would be a lot of fun to watch.
Right, yeah. And
Pat Perez, who sucks, but is earning bags because he's on the 4 aces. He's there cheering DJ and Patty Reed on to help win so he can make more money.
Right, yeah. I mean, at least it'd add to, a contributing factor for him, seeing that he likes to shoot 80. But, to me, again, we're not here to talk the politics. We're leaving that.
We're talking golf.
We're to the politicians. Obviously, with the more and more names going over there, it's the events are more enticing to watch, and we saw a decent field at the Rocket Mortgage Classic that I thought was a pretty good field. Some people may argue like only 6 of the top 30 players in the world were at the event, but again, we've acknowledged that we like the smaller players, so you get to see some of those guys in this event too. But to me, like selfishly, it's actually kind of fun knowing you got two different type of events going on each weekend with a solid field.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, the next event is basically first week of September. I think it's Labor Day weekend actually, in Boston. So we got about a month until then. I'm sure there's going to be some news. There's no event overhanging the FedEx Cup playoffs, which is interesting.
Very interesting.
And you enlightened me on something potentially. It might be a good time to talk about that.
Yeah.
Like basically, now that we're moving on to kind of the following weeks, but the FedEx Cup playoffs are coming up. We have one more event, the Wyndham Championship, which solidifies the top 125. Those guys are in their car. They play in the playoffs. The guys who finish 126 and up go to the Korn Ferry Finals to play for more cards, basically. But you kind of heard some speculation that it sounds like there could be a suit coming from LIV Golf on behalf of the players to participate in the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Yep. So it seems like, obviously nothing has happened yet, but there's rumors out there that the LIV players want to be able to play in the FedEx Cup playoffs. Rightfully so. They did earn those points throughout the year before any of them did jump ship. Now it will be interesting to see which players are involved in that suit if it does come to fruition, because some of these guys full on resign from the PGA Tour. So I assume if you full on resign from it, you also resign from the chance to play in the FedEx Cup playoffs. But I think they're kind of taking the approach much like some of the players did for the Scottish Open that did it, with only a few days left before the Open happens. Can they get enough, evidence or background and enough time to make a decision on it before, it's like, hey, legal action, you should probably just let these guys play. And obviously I'm not a legal person at all, so I don't know exactly what the parameters of that would be. My guess would be somewhere along the lines of there was no stipulation that if we went and played other events and we qualified, that we wouldn't be allowed to play in the event. So I'm assuming that's where
there's a qualification criteria.
Yeah.
We signed on a player addendum or something at the beginning of the year, and we have enough FedEx Cup points, so why can we not play?
Right, yeah. I assume it's going to be something along those lines that, again, we're just here speculating because we don't exactly know, because I never thought in a million years I'd have to go read the legal binding contracts of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Yeah.
Which is funny that the PGA Tour handbook has a lot of things. This is just from what I've gathered from other podcasts listening. The big thing that they really highlight in there is they have their own ability to kind of do what they want by saying if it's conduct unbecoming to the PGA Tour by a player, aka like you went to a rival tour. But I'm looking at it. There's 3 guys who would qualify for the FedEx Cup playoffs if they started today. Most likely these guys will have enough points either way. It'd be Patty Reed, DJ, and Kevin Na. Sergio Garcia is next on the list. He does not have enough points even right now.
Okay.
So he'd have to play in the Wyndham Championship to earn enough. And so, again, who could say, basically, if they get in or not. It'll be interesting. But yeah, the first thing when you told me this is I was like, well, why haven't they done this yet? And I think what we came to the conclusion was like, well, if they do it with short term, the PGA Tour doesn't have a lot of time to make a defense. If they don't really have a defense, what are the courts going to say? Like, sorry.
Yeah.
This is it. So we'll see where that goes. There's some smoke there, whether or not there's fires, the next story. Another player officially joined LIV Golf in Bubba Watson, which we had known for a while.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was like, I don't know if it was rumored.
It hadn't been officially announced yet.
But we just knew it. Seemed like the type of tour that was going to fit
aging veteran, two-time major champion. And really where it came down to with it is he's the first guy who kind of came out and said, so he's not going to play the rest of the year. He's got this torn meniscus. He's going to play next year on LIV. But he was like first one I've ever seen to come out and say like, I'm going to create a brand. We're going to create a logo. Like we're going to do all these things. It's his team. He's going to be the captain of the team, but he's going to like kind of build a whole like brand and everything associated with it. Because a lot of people made fun of these 12 names. And again, it might have been the names just to like get us through the first year.
Yeah. But
there's been stuff coming out that players will have 25%, the captains will have 25% ownership of the teams. You can create your own platform, all these different things. So it'll be intriguing. And if you look, there's like 7 captains who are actually legitimate captains, and there's like 4 or 5 that aren't. So Bubba will fill in for one of them, and then you're probably looking to fill in the others. But again, I think this first year is like, hey, we're just getting it out there for people. But next year is going to be our real first season of like what this is going to look like.
Yeah, it's again, I've said on this, actually when I was talking about what the PGA Tour should do is, trying to, Americanize the sport a little bit. And it seems like LIV is, that's the route they're going. That's essentially going to try to build franchises, it sounds like. And, kind of very smart. You can brand it how you want. You can essentially build social media for the 4 Aces or, the Fireballs and,
or their new team names for all we know.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it like introduces different sponsorship type of possibilities.
Yeah,
so
I mean, the Shrixon with Hideki was the big rumor, which we talked about in the last podcast.
Right.
So.
Yeah, which is obviously it's going to be some time now before I think we really get any other crazy big names that are going to jump just because the FedEx Cup playoffs are.
I think we're going to get through the President's Cup.
Yeah.
And then because when is I'll figure out.
September 2nd or 3rd week in September.
So it was really just one more event on LIV that they miss, which is the Boston event, I believe.
Right.
I think Jeddah is after the President's Cup.
So I mean, it's getting to a unique thing. I will say the biggest thing that I'm watching between these two tours right now is the media has done a very good job at making people choose sides and argue and fight over it. And I will say, like, again, and that's a lot of people are using their politics, which rightfully show. Like, you should have that right. I'm not a political nerd by any means or a buff, or I'm ignorant to it all. So I'm a golf nerd, admittedly so. So I'm trying to just look at it from a golf aspect. I mean, they're not paying me. I'm not paying them anything.
Yeah.
It's just, we cover golf, and I've seen actually some of the critiques out there is, the Golf Channel is, they're supposed to be the golf channel, and there's no coverage of LIV.
Oh, don't get me started about it. I go to look, they won't even put the leaderboard up.
Yeah.
You're Golf Channel. You're not the PGA Tour channel.
Yeah, but in conjunction with the PGA Tour channel, right? So, the PGA Tour has dominated the golf world for a long, long time now. So obviously there's a threat to them right now and what they want to do. And obviously all their partners are backing them. And, again, rightfully so. People have their reasons to not like LIV Golf, and I'm not really gonna yell at anybody.
Yeah, you can have that opinion.
Either way, like that's everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I will say, it's for these the guys that are on the bubble for LIV Golf, right? So like a James Piot, essentially, who, is how much longer will he be on tour with LIV Golf? Is it until they get a few more big names? Is he one of the first guys out? I look at a guy like Andy Ogletree.
Well, he just had a one event deal. I think Piot's got I don't know what his term is, but a deal at least.
Right. But some of these young guys, and I've actually read a few articles like, all right, well, what's this person doing now? And essentially they can't really go do anything. Like if you
can you relegate to the Asian tour maybe? Like,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's it. But besides that, I mean, no, like you'd almost want to sit Andy Ogletree down. I was like, all right, was that one event worth it? With the uncertainty of your future of never getting back to any of these major tours ever again.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to get back to the LIV Tour if you're not a big name on the PGA Tour, essentially? Because that's who they're plucking.
Yeah, and I think the thought with him maybe was probably like, hey, if I play well in this one event of 48 people, I'm earning money anyways. But if I play well in this one event, like maybe it'll earn me like a contract or something. I don't know. Yeah, bad decision though. Clearly didn't work. We don't know. I mean, we have about a month to talk. I don't know if there's going to be a ton more LIV news in the next month, but felt like it was needed to be discussed. Obviously, Henrik Stenson wins the 3rd event. So interesting, we'll see. The 4 Aces have won back-to-back team championships though, and that's the team that's like they're sick. I mean, it's Patty Reed, Taylor Gooch, DJ, and then Pat Perez. Like, it's a strong team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that by any means, and it's Pat Perez probably looks like the smartest man for going to join that because
he's just collecting cash.
Yeah, he's just literally collecting money over money. So, it's David Feherty being on that broadcast definitely made a world of difference. I think, in my opinion, watching again, I only watched the first round. I was planning on watching more, but David Feherty added, and a lot of the longtime golf writers were sitting there saying like there's an added legitimacy there to their broadcast now that it's worth watching.
Yeah, no, exactly. So we'll see what happens. Charles Barkley came out and said he's not doing it.
Correct.
Well.
I have a feeling that TNT offered him a pretty good deal.
Probably, and he said, "Hey, I wish him all the best. I'm gonna finish my career out at TNT."
Yeah.
So good for him. I mean, he's a basketball guy. Like he likes golf, but he's a basketball guy. Like it makes more sense.
Yeah. So that tells me too, especially if LIV Golf didn't offer him any type of deal, that they're trying to be more not just entertainment, like golf legitimate.
Yeah.
So
we don't know.
Yeah, well, I wasn't surprised by that. And Feherty ended up, he was not on course reporter. He's in the booth with those guys. So that's kind of what I thought would happen. That's maybe, I think, a shift he was looking for in his career. I will say that going back to Bubba, I think Bubba is one of the first former PGA Tour players to kind of come out and say, without the PGA Tour, I would not be in the position where I'm being able to be at today.
Yeah,
so
he kind of didn't like MF flick him off on his way out the door.
Correct. Basically. And I think that's what some of the players were saying is that, it's kind of some of us were getting the middle finger just because of, them switching up and bad mouthing the tour. And I wasn't sure what you'd get out of Bubba, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he came out, and I think Bubba did it the right way. If there's a way you're going to do it, I think he probably did it the right way, whether people want to hear that or not.
Yeah. I've become a big Bubba fan through the years.
Have you?
Yeah, I mean, he used to be kind of like the whiny guy, and I liked it when he won the Masters, but then he became popular from that and was like the whiny guy. But no, I'm in on him. Obviously he's doing this LIV, and so if you have a different opinion on that, whatever. But as a person and the golfer and everything, I think he's entertaining, one, to watch, and then two, I do think he's become a lot more respected.
I've heard a lot.
There was the issues with the caddy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've heard some horror stories off the golf course.
But I think he's gotten better
with Bubba. So I'm the jury for me on Bubba still out. But that situation for the moment, he did go about that the right way in my opinion.
So, all right. Well, moving on. So we got the Wyndham Championship. Right before getting in, we want to talk just briefly the Korn Ferry. There's 2 more events in the race for 25, and then they have the Korn Ferry Finals. For anyone who doesn't know, the Korn Ferry, the feeder tour to the PGA Tour, 25 cards to the top 25 finishers in the season, and then the guys basically 26 through 75 playing the Korn Ferry Finals with all the guys on the PGA Tour turn to 25 more cards. One guy specifically who officially earned enough points to, he was in the top 25, but he's now clinched a spot. Taylor Montgomery. Last year, he was 26th at the end of the Korn Ferry season, and then he was 26th at the Korn Ferry Finals, so he didn't get status on the PGA Tour. Finishing the first guy out both times, man, that's brutal. But either way, he's now basically clinched it. The guy who won last week, though, David Kocher, I might not be saying it. I think I'm saying it right. He was 114th on the list, wins that event. Now he's 30th. So he's still not in the top 25, but he's close. And then a guy I followed, he won the first event of the season, but really has sucked all since, Akshay Bhatia. He's 33rd on the list right now. So it'll be curious. They got 2 events left. That's fun to watch because this is to earn a PGA Tour card. Yeah. You have a place to play all next season, and you don't have to go. I mean, like we just talked about, the guy finishes 26th. You have no guarantee. And all of a sudden, you're playing in this event with a bunch of other PGA Tour players to try to earn that card. And if you have a bad week or not, you lose out on it.
Well, and look at some of the names that, have emerged in the last year. Cam Young, obviously going to be the PGA Tour Rookie of the Year, undoubtedly. Sahith Theegala, these are all guys that earned their cards last year.
Taylor Pendreth.
Yeah, again, all guys that have earned their cards within this last year that have kind of turned into somewhat household names.
Yeah, Steven Jager, top 5. Mito Pereira lost the PGA on the final hole. Grayson Sigg, he's been okay on the tour this year. Davis Riley.
Yeah.
Will Zalatoris would have won last year, but he basically earned enough points to stay on the PGA Tour toward the end.
Correct.
But yeah, no, it's been good. Nick Hardy, another one. So there's a lot of different names. that come out of that. I think the other one named just worth mentioning, Pierceson Cootie. He's 32nd on the list. He's played in 6 events. He was the guy from PGA Tour University. He's missed 3 cuts, but he also has 2 top 5s, including a win. So 2 weeks left. If you're able to watch or tune in, feel free to turn that on Golf Channel. I think it's exciting to watch because that's a big difference, not only just for stability for a year, but also financially for these guys. To go from, basically being on the bubble on the Korn Ferry Tour to being even if you're a guy who does not have a good season on the PGA Tour, you're doing a lot better financially and stuff like that. And so just thought it was worth mentioning before we get into that. But yeah, Wyndham Championship, this is the Bubble Watch 125. Is it the most exciting event? Not as much, but again, it's kind of like the Rocket Mortgage. There's a lot of significance around some of the players who you maybe haven't heard about going into this week and seeing where are they going to finish. A guy like Tom Kim or what you've seen, Ju Young Kim, finished 4th place last week. Now, he's not going to play in the FedEx Cup playoffs, but he's now earned enough points to earn his card for next season through a different way. And so there's a few guys who are trying to do it that way. There's a few guys who are trying to basically earn their card again for next season and get in the top 125, most notably being Ricky Fowler. He's at 132. He missed the cut this week. He's got to play, and it's surprising to think that he might not be on tour next season.
Yeah, there's several names that are kind of sitting on the outside, and I'm trying to pull up. I got
the list right here.
Well, all right. So key golfers on the FedEx Cup bubble, and this is.
Are we looking at which one are we looking at? Because there's 2 different rankings. One that includes the LIV guys and the guys who are qualified, and one that doesn't.
So I just found this article that made it a lot easier on me of some of the. So Jason Day is at 115. Stuart Sinks at 125. Webb Simpson at 126. Ricky's at 133 on this list.
Yeah, so this is the one that includes some of those guys. So we don't know what's going on, but
yeah. So Danny Willett is on that list at 138. Cameron Champ, Molinari,
skip Nick Hardy,
140. Yeah. So again, Zach Johnson, 153. So
Harry Higgs, the big rig.
Yeah. So a lot of guys that it's crazy to think that the PGA Tour could move forward next year without some of these guys.
Yeah, well, and I think some of them will still earn some exemptions, and if you lose your status, we talk about the Omar Urestis of the world who get to play and blah, 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 and I think Webb Simpson will be fine because of his players win. I think you get a 5-year exemption on tour. But yeah, there is certain guys that will not be there, and you're probably only going to see 3, 4, 5 guys climb into that 125 who are outside looking in. But I tell people it's great to watch, even early on Sunday, especially if it's a tournament where Tony Finau is going to run away with the win. A lot of the other stuff that's going to be is like jockeying for 8th place compared to 12th place, and it could be a birdie putt that changes a top 10 finish or top 5 and earns you that card coming down the stretch. So it is fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's a different beast, right? It's different than watching guys trying to vie for a major title. It's got guys on the Korn Ferry vying for an opportunity to have an experience that they never had in their entire life. So these next few weeks get juicy, and each year I feel like I've watched the FedEx Cup playoffs. It's gotten better and better.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So, do you want to make a random pick to win? Who'd you pick to win last week, by the way?
I said, so this is what I said. I said one of the big names were going to win last week.
Yeah, I said Finau wasn't.
But I said Homa was my pick.
Yeah, and I had Ju Young Kim. Both guys made the cut.
Yeah.
Ju Young Kim shot the course record the final day to get in the top 5.
Here's a good story that I didn't tell about Ju Young Kim. So I saw him on the practice screen on Thursday or on Wednesday during the pro-am. And obviously this is a guy that a lot of people don't know. If
he's 20 years old.
Yeah, he's 20 years old. Special exemption on the PGA Tour the rest of the year. So if you didn't know who he was, you're not going to go up and talk to him. But I recognized him, and I went, and he was literally by himself with his caddy, and he goes by Tom. And I looked at him and said, "Hey, Tom," I said, "You're the fucking man." And he was like, wait, what? So you're the fucking man, Tom. He was, oh, thanks. And just didn't know what to say. I was like, I think I might have scared him a little bit because I kind of walk up there like have you ever seen that video of that guy's like, I want to shake your hand? That's kind of what I did to our boy Tom on the putting green during the pro.
He was startled.
I think he was startled a little bit, but yeah, Ju Young.
Ju Young or
we
Tom
like
Kim.
Him.
He goes by either, yeah. And for the record, he's my pick to win this week.
Oh, is it?
So
okay.
he can't play in the FedEx Cup playoffs. He's earned enough points to earn a card next year. He had a really good finish at the Genesis Scottish Open, 3rd place, and then obviously a 7th place finish this week. But I think he's going to win. He's plus 3,500. if he wins, he does get into the then he earns a card for the season and actually can play in the FedEx Cup playoffs. So I do think there's some added value to him wanting to win. And so not that any guy doesn't want to win. I think he's young. He's not afraid. He's got his card. He's really got nothing to lose here.
Right.
So I'm all for Tom Kim. I mean, I picked him last week. I'm going to pick him again this week.
All right. And do you remember who the defending champ of this event is?
It wasn't Sergio won a few years ago, but it's not Sergio.
The man, Kevin Kisner. So
wow. Wasn't expecting that.
I'm actually trying to pull up a field right now because you know who actually had a good week last week too? That's playing again this week? Our boy Kierdak Apibanrat.
Is he's playing again?
Yeah, he's in the field this week.
The barn rap.
Ryan Brem, Michigan guy, was up there for a bit. You know who I'm going to take? And this is a very, I guess this is my dark horse pick this week.
Okay.
Wesley Bryan. So I brought him up.
Hometown game.
Yeah, brought him up earlier this week, or earlier in this episode. And, he had wrist surgery. Hasn't been the same yet, but had a decent week actually at the Rocket Mortgage. So I'm rolling with him. But if I had to pick a favorite going into this week, I'm going to go with. Oh, I really want that. Almost seems like
Webb.
a good pick.
He's from right around there.
Yeah, that could be a. You know what? I think there's a good chance we see a back-to-back week or back-to-back tournament win out of Kevin Kisner.
That's not bad, but plus 4,000.
Yep, that's
not a terribly long course.
Nope, that's what I'm going with.
Okay,
I'm just looking at some of the other notable names on here. Kind of a very similar field to the Rocket Mortgage this past week.
Shane Lowry, Zalatoris are the big names, and then you have obviously Webb, Kisner.
Taylor Pendreth's playing in it again. That could be a
good pick.
That could be a really good pick.
The course suits to guys who hit it straight and really good approach numbers. And Taylor Pendreth is up there when we're looking at true strokes gained. Just for everyone, for the last 6 months, tee to green, the best players in the field: Shane Lowry, Will Zalatoris, Corey Connors, Taylor Pendreth, Russell Henley. That's the top 5.
Scott Stallings might be a sneaky good pick too.
He'd be a really good top 20 bet. I think.
He's been playing some good golf this year, and that guy is ripped. Here's a question I have for you before we get to what
Birdie and the bogey of the week.
Yeah, before we get to that part. Well, and I think we got to talk a little bit about the schedule. If Adam Scott was a 50% better putter than what he is, how many majors would he have won over his career, do you think?
He's won 0, so
he's got one. He won.
Jesus, I forgot about the Masters. Yeah. I was like, all I was remembering was the 4 bogey just bleed out in the Open.
Yeah.
2 maybe.
2. You don't think it would have increased?
2 more.
You would think with a golf swing like that, how is this guy not won 4 or 5 or 6 majors?
Yeah, I guess my whole theory is if a player can putt really well, they usually it's hard to be really good at all of those different items for the long period of time. And I almost think that by putting so poorly, it requires his ball striking to be so much better than everyone else.
Yeah.
And so if he putted better, maybe his ball striking would come out. I'm just speculating here. I don't know, because I think there's such demons in his mind with putting that he knows I have to hit the screen or I'm not going to par the hole. I mean, it's obviously not that case, but to some degree it's like that. So I don't know. I don't think it'd be much different.
Because he was in the mix going into Saturday and then
shot a million,
77 or 78 on Saturday.
Backed up with 65 though.
Yeah,
basically went even on the weekend.
Yeah, good backup there. So he was with Sahith over the weekend, and I watched a lot of him. I was like, man, he swings it so good. How has this guy not won more?
Yeah, just it's a pleasure to watch him swing the golf club. I will say that. So either way, I don't know. I think I'd say at 2.5 majors instead of 1.
All right, that's fair.
He doesn't blow that one open.
It just blows my mind that he should not be a 1 major type of player. But
but there's a ton of players like that.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, DJ got his second not too long ago, and it was what this guy didn't even have. He took a long time to get 1.
Yeah, I guess you put in that perspective. DJ's only got 2. I guess okay.
Justin Thomas just got his second.
Yeah.
Now he's got a lot more of his career left.
Correct.
Rory McIlroy hasn't won a major in 10 years.
Yeah.
It's hard. There's 4 tournaments a year.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players now. So all right, I guess maybe it's not too far out of the realm.
But all right, so the schedule was released. Obviously for the 2022-2023 schedule, and really this is the last year where it's going to be the wraparound for the FedEx Cup points. The following season, the fall series will not include FedEx Cup points. This year, obviously, it will still feature some of those. I don't think there's a ton to note on the schedule per se. I mean, obviously there's some increases to purses and everything to combat the LIV series. Really, I think what was worth maybe touching on is the playoffs are going to be, instead of 125 players, it's 70 followed by 50 to 30. That's what they're cutting it down to get to the Tour Championship.
Yep.
And then, really that they basically said, and I don't think they have all of these things etched out yet, but basically come the playoffs, the guys who don't qualify for the playoffs, that fall series is going to be an event combined with some of the Korn Ferry guys to earn status and earn play on the PGA Tour for the following season. So if you finish 71st, I'm sure you still have status on the PGA Tour, if not the most of those guys. And it'll probably be a tiered approach of like you losing some status.
Yeah.
But there's going to be playing in the fall series similar to what the Korn Ferry Finals is right now, which I really like. I think that's a good move. So, the one thing I would say, like Jay Monahan with this kind of vanilla quote we've heard from our fans, and overwhelming sentiment was that they wanted more consequences for both the FedEx Cup regular season and the playoffs, and to further strengthen events that traditionally feature top players competing head to head. I don't know. We've accomplished all these objectives and more, creating a cadence of compelling drama for every tournament throughout the season. Each week has its own identity and purpose. We are set up for an exciting campaign as we transition into the calendar season. So I'm more curious with what's going to happen in 2024 and 2025, kind of past this. But I do think these changes had to be made. And what was the cause and the effect in this whole relationship of what caused this transition? Well, it was the obviously LIV Golf creating the up on the purses, but also making them look at the playoffs a little differently. I mean, every player who makes the playoffs earns a card. I think there should be some difference in that, and it looks like they addressed it. So that's really the big change. Is instead of 125 guys next season, it's only 70 guys make it to the PGA Tour playoffs. Yeah,
and I was looking too. Do we have the courses and events of where this fall series is going to take place at?
For the following year?
Yeah.
No. So they don't have... I mean, I'm sure they'll leverage some of the same courses that host normally between, Country Club of Jackson, TPC Summerlin. Like, they're probably going to just use all of those.
Okay.
But I don't know. They don't have that announced yet, and they probably won't for a little bit.
Okay.
The interesting thing is the CJ Cup still not happening out in Asia. It's going to be at Congaree Golf Club in mid-October. It's a really cool golf course. So it'll be fun to watch that, I think.
Yeah. And then I guess another notable thing is the Waste Management Open, going to be in Arizona, same weekend as the Super Bowl again. So they did that a couple years ago, and the crowds out there were just insane. Mm-hmm. So that weekend is always, for me, in February, obviously with football going on and that event on the same day. It's you can almost feel the atmosphere from there coming through the TV.
Yeah. My only complaint with the Waste Management, they should have a higher purse for that event. It's only $8.5 million. That's less than the AT&T Pro-Am.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. That, like, to me, that's a must-watch event.
Yeah.
And if you want, I mean, maybe they're like, hey, we don't need money to draw players to this because most guys will come play because of the event. I don't know.
Right.
I'm looking at it and I saw the purse and I was like, I'm surprised that like the Valero Texas Open has a higher purse than that.
Yeah, it's crazy that they're not taking advantage of it to make it like a almost like a Players or something along those lines of, not obviously the Players is considered the quote unquote fifth major, but like take advantage of.
Well, you got the Arnold Palmer Memorial. They have heightened ones.
Yeah.
Now I will say the week after is the Genesis, which is a heightened event to 20 mil, so that might be why. But yeah, I would. I don't know.
Let's make them all heightened.
Yeah,
though.
Come on. If they're all heightened, though, none of them are heightened.
Yeah, that's true.
Inflation, man.
That's true.
But either way, that was just the big news we wanted to talk on with that. I guess it's time for our Birdie of the Bogey of the week, though.
All right. You want to kick this thing off, or you want me to?
Why don't you go?
All right. So I'm going to start with my bogey of the week because this is my bogey of the week is sunscreen, or I guess a lack thereof sunscreen.
You got to protect the skin, baby. Come on.
Well, I had my sunglasses on, protect the eyes. Definitely forgot to wear sunscreen on Thursday, though. Just totally botched that. And the face got Friday, and I wore sunglasses the entire time I was outside, so I looked like a raccoon.
Mm-hmm.
I looked like a raccoon, like red face, white eyes. But I made the joke, too. I was like, I'm going to have to wear a ski mask to the event on Friday just to even out the tan lines. But I don't think they would have let me in like that. So that was
creeped out.
I have done such a good job of not getting sunburned so far this summer that it took until the end of July to get sunburned for the first time. So So far so good.
Yeah.
But that was definitely a bogey while knowing I was going to be out there the rest of the week. Birdie of the week, obviously hanging out with Sahith Theegala.
Oh, yeah.
We made a lot of good connections there. It sounds like I asked him, do you want to come on the pod at some point in time? He said he'd be more than open to. So
we'll see.
Obviously, that last Wednesday was kind of a golden day for the Lip and Putts podcast. So definitely got to roll with that for the birdie of the week.
Love that. Okay, great. My birdie of the week, which I think we've talked about wanting to do probably next season. We'll figure out like a season-long DraftKings Lip and Putts thing. Was I'm in another one that has like 25 guys. I've been in it for 2 years, never won. It's only 25 guys. You'd think you'd win one.
Right.
Won my first one. Some are saying that win was bigger than Tony Finau's win.
Oh, okay.
It's just the monkey off my back. I've had a few runner-ups, but was able to win the DraftKings. It was a smooth $65.
Hell yeah. Big. You got to get the Live Series DraftKings.
I
going.
do. Yeah. Maybe we'll start that. We need a sponsor though.
They probably won't sponsor us because it's in association with Live.
Yeah,
so we're screwed on that part.
That was my birdie. I mean, I played some golf this week. Had some good rounds, had some bad rounds. I was gonna say my bogey. It's just sometimes it goes down the wrong way. It's just playing bad, and that's what happens. I was able to bounce back. It's funny, the day I was hungover, I played much better than the day I was not hungover, but
funny how that works.
It's maybe because I'm so used to playing hungover. I was like out of whack being sober. But
you're a KG veteran hungover player.
Yeah, exactly. Either way, though, I'm excited. It's club championship week for Sam. I think it's a lot of fun to try to qualify. You were there 2 years ago when I shot $1 million and didn't qualify, and
yeah.
Last year you were there. I was able to I think I was getting like the 3 seed or something, which was great. Lost in the first round of Match Play Classic. So,
sick.
We'll just see. 16 guys qualify. We don't know how many guys are for sure playing in it yet, but it's 18 holes, and then you get into Match Play, which, when I play Match Play with my buddies and bet money, I'm always still worried about my score.
Yeah.
It's really, and what I remembered last year, it was really hard for me to turn that off. And really just focus on the match. But also, there was times I tried to do that and tried to, he's going to make a 6, just try to make a 5, and I end up making a 6 because I'm playing defensive instead of just normal.
What did you just say about Finau? Don't play
defensive.
Yeah, exactly.
So it'll be interesting. But either way, playing different formats and these things is a lot of fun. This is, one of the big tournaments I like to put on my calendar as one of my majors.
There you go.
So we'll just see. It's competitive golf's fun. Every ball's got to go in the hole. Something
I love
we
that
try to do,
so
but it's fun to, you got to go make that 7-inch putt or that 2.5 footer for double bogey, which is going to obviously happen for me.
So it's funny you bring that up too. I don't mean to cut you off too much there, but when I play either in money games or I'm playing against people, and I have a hard time with gimmies. Like for me personally, I'm a type of person that likes to putt everything out to begin with. So when I'm playing with people, like I'm pretty quiet. So people are like, oh, and then like they guilt you into almost essentially giving them putts. I'm like, dude, I've seen people miss putts from 2 feet. I've seen people miss putts from 6 feet. Like I have such a hard time just giving putts that I almost would prefer make everything. Like, and I'll do that sometimes too, is in some of these money games, or if you're with your buddies, like, hey, even if it's a best ball with 2 of you, like one of the balls got to find the bottom of the cup.
No, and then I think if you say that at the beginning, like that makes it fun.
Yeah.
The hard part is like, because I've said that to some people, and it's like, hey, you got to make it, and then like one guy will like hit a bogey putt past the hole or a par putt past the hole. And now he's got 4 feet for bogey, and he like goes up and hits it like not thinking and misses it, and it's like, oh, like wait, well I should get a 4, not a 5 on that hole, or I should get a bogey, not a double, and it's like, look, we established we're playing. It's not like we were betting or anything, but it's like, dude. Like, so, I'm with you. I actually, for a guy who had the yips, I actually really do enjoy playing putt everything out. It's fun. It does slow it down a touch, but it's fun. I think that's a fun aspect of it.
From that standpoint, too, is you get guys out there that don't ever play that way. So the first minute they miss a 3-footer, like, I feel like you have the match.
Yeah,
from that standpoint on.
Well, and that's what happened to me last year. I missed a few short ones early on, and then I was super tentative, and I tried to battle, but when you get behind the 8 ball, you get behind the 8 ball.
Right. So, I mean, maybe I'll just make sure if that's what I'm doing, I'll just clear. And people might call me snobby for that, but I like play it like how the pros play.
Look, and here's my thing. I'm not telling anyone here you got to go not play gimmies.
No,
like, you do whatever you want. We're not criticizing you. I think
we talk about the styles we like to play.
Yeah, when you can, like, there's times where we play gimmies. There's times when you don't. I'm totally with you. I mean, you've played in games where it's 48, 52 guys. Like, it's hard to be consistent amongst everyone and tell them, hey, you, like there's times where guys are taking illegal drops in a 52-man game and there's big money on the line. And it's like, how do we police these things unless we're playing by the actual rules? Now, if you're playing in a group with your buddies and it's not for money, or you guys have like then completely different.
The guys that are the worst, though, are, like you said, they blow it 4 or 5 feet by the hole for their par or bogey, where they could easily make double, and then they scrape it and give themselves the game. It's like, oh, all right, I'm good for dude. No. Like, no, you either wait till someone says something or you putt it out. Like,
and look, I'm guilty of doing that where I made the excuse, oh, if I had taken my time, I would have made it, or oh, I just like walked up and hit it and didn't worry about it. I'm just gonna take I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that's one of my my pet peeves when it comes to gimmies. And the guys that are also the worst are if you do make them putt the 4-footer that they were hoping you were gonna give them, and then they miss it and they get mad at you because they missed the putt.
That's me. Oh, well, that was me. I've gotten over it.
Have you?
I used to get really pissed with my brother when he would look. Again, I had the gift, so he would if I was in a tight match with big money, he would make me hit a 2.5-footer, and if I missed it, I would be pissed at him like, what the fuck? Why didn't you give me that? Well, you just missed the putt. Yeah. Like, that's why I didn't give it to you.
I've had guys, too, before where I've had, like, bad putting days, and, like, they've given me a generous putt, and I was like, I don't know why you just gave me that putt, because I would have made me putt that putt.
No. There was a time when we talked about the yips on this podcast, like, I want to say episode 5, and I said, we're speaking it into existence for myself. You were there for the basically the round where it was happening for me.
Yeah.
At Forest Lake. And it kind of like I was able to get in on like the last couple of holes, but it was getting to the point where like it was just so bad. The other team was giving me 3-4 footers, like to the point where I was like, dude, like
you got to make me putt.
But no, I was fine with it because we had big money on the line. But like I get it.
How'd we end up doing in that match? That's right. I think we won some money.
Did we win?
Yeah, we did.
Won. Shout out to the Sextons. Suck it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that wraps up everything for this week. Obviously a little bit more, I feel like, packed episode with, I mean,
with Rocket
a lot
Mortgage.
of people might seem a smaller event, but to us it was a pretty big event
Live
this
in
week.
Rocket Mortgage, man. Hometown event.
Yeah, so following weeks, again, we're going to try to line up some more guests, hopefully here in the future.
Some different show topics, too, talking about maybe the game of golf, more opinions on different things other than the PGA Tour.
Yeah, some different segments. That way you guys can kind of get to know us a little bit better. I felt like the last part of the episode there, talking about gimmies and stuff, it'll let you know where we lie on some of those situations. So we'll be doing more of that instead of just talking about some of the smaller events and things here in the future. So supposed to be a scorcher here in Michigan, but if you're not here in Michigan, hopefully you're getting out playing somewhere else. We're already into August, so summer's closing in.
I know,
very, very fast.
Weird to think,
but fall golf is. I'm looking for some fall golf this year.
Wake up, you play a little fall golf. You get to watch the second half of the first morning games in college football. Then you get to watch the afternoon. Oh, man, it's perfect.
I've never been so excited for some fall golf. Yeah. So if you get out this weekend, make sure you hit them far and hit them straight.